writing this letter to my employer to ask for their support. I found that keeping them in the loop, providing them with the information they need to plan ahead, giving them enough notice, they could be a real powerful ally in helping me balance military, civilian, and personal life.
The Armed Forces, what it stands for in Canada, is what I love about being in the Canadian Armed Forces. And that would be the Mercy flight missions, the fact that we do the flood relief in Manitoba when we did that, when we fly overseas and we're in Kosovo and Haiti during peacekeeping. I really believe in that wholeheartedly with my own heart.
The board is up to date, so that's okay. You can get that from the communications.
I enjoy the uniform, I enjoy the pomp and ceremony, and I enjoy discipline, and that's, that's what the military is about.
The biggest thing I did as I joined to be able to help other people, take the training that I have and go overseas, go places and give it to somebody else and help somebody else.
For me, going on a mission is the opportunity of a lifetime. I don't want to have to quit my job to go. I don't want to pass up a deployment. I don't want to come back from the tour and find myself unemployed because the company couldn't or wouldn't keep the spot open for me.
It's important to me to find the balance. It's good for my company, good for me. Everybody wins.
Being in the reserves permits me to test myself mentally and physically. It's about going above and beyond, meeting a ton of challenges as they occur wherever they are.
I can't afford to lose my seniority. It is possible to have both. I want both. I found that if I take the lead, I could have both.
Everybody's situation is different. For one, it's Asian markets. For another, it's competitiveness in global telecommunications or automotive contracts, initiatives in R&D, world focus on safety and security. You get the idea. It's important to show an employer that you know how you fit into the company. You know what you bring to the company, and you know a bit about where the company wants to go.
Look at it, the military wants people who are trained and ready for operation. Employers want the same. Bottom line, reservists definitely bring a lot to their employer, but it's our job to show the employers how they benefit.
Civilians, the people I've spoken to, and all my agencies, the engineering firms I've worked with, support the military. They support the armed services. They just don't realize what you're doing, and if they know exactly what you're doing, they will support you 100%.
I think the biggest thing with the employers is open communication. Let them know that you do have this job. It is part-time, but there is on occasion that you may be called up very short notice to go places. Also, you're going to have to go on courses, so you have to be able to have open communication with them to ensure that they can give you the time off and be willing to at least meet you halfway. If you give them enough notice, usually they're really good with that.
A reservist needs to show their employer what benefits are going to come to the individual, which is the reservist, and then what the reservist is going to bring back to the employer. I mean, if you go to somebody and say, I'm leaving for 6 months, see you later, they're not going to be as inclined to let you go unless you come out. It's a solved problem. Say, look, I need some time off, or I'd like to go away. This is what I propose. These are the things we're going to get out of it. And the employer might be a little more inclined to let you go that way.
Did you know that your chances of going on a mission are 10 times higher than just a few years ago? And deployments are increasingly longer and tougher?
About 45% of reservists have full-time civilian employment. A lot are students who are getting ready to enter the job market. So yeah, getting, keeping, and advancing in a civvy job is a very big deal.
The way I look at it, the military wants people who are trained and ready for operation. Employers want the same.
Part of our training is provided leadership training you wouldn't get with a regular employer.
They offer you skills and courses.
It's very mentally challenging. I mean, you have to always be on the ball.
Attention to detail.
The discipline, the structured way of doing things.
Organizational ability from the military perspective.
The reservist learns to work in a team setting.
Making sure you're physically fit.
Learn to make decisions on their own.
From the different perspective they've garnered from other countries and other cultures.
He's not afraid to take responsibility when things go good or bad.
The leadership capabilities.
To use their initiative.
Where your buddy's life depends on you.
I do a lot of teaching for both the military but also for the employers, and I keep improving on that.
They're willing to balance time, work long hours. They're capable of doing all of those things.
Does your resume say, I am a reservist? Or does it say, I have the ability to provide attention to detail, take pride in the quality of a finished product, and complete all tasks thoroughly?
It's reflected in my civilian resume in that it helped me become an astronaut. It helped me get to my dream, my goal to go into space. And all the Armed Forces training I've had, the reservist training I've had, is directly related to exactly how the space program is going to go. In fact, I'm an instructor in the space program for other people to go up, and that was a direct result of the training that I had in the reserves, the fantastic training I've had in the reserves.
Does your resume say, I am a reservist? Or does it say, I have the experience working safely and efficiently in a variety of indoor and outdoor environments while maintaining an accident-free record?
I think one of the reasons I did get hired by the company I currently work for is because I had the Navy Reserves listed as first and foremost on my resume. I think when employers see that, it's a check in the box, absolutely. Some of the skills we bring back, even in starting out in the reserves just a year or two, that's the same thing happened to me. I think I had 3 or 4 years under my belt when I did apply for the company I had, and they see, you know, Government of Canada, military, Navy Reserves, your rank, and some of the things you've accumulated in skills over the 2 years, 3 years, 4 years you've been in. It's definitely an asset.
Does your resume say, I am a reservist? Or does it say, I have good time management skills and the ability to adapt as priorities and situations change?
Well, different jobs that I've applied for, they love seeing that I'm in the reserves. They see it as that I'm responsible, that I'm punctual. There are so many things about being in the military that employers reflect on.
The ability to organize, the ability to lead, the ability to task, multitask, all these things I think are essential in any civilian employment. And to have that in the military context and to do it so efficiently in the military context only helps, only benefits a civilian employer.
Employers are business people. When you can demonstrate that your training and experience are related to creating value, well, they will generally be receptive to your request.
We have people in their early 20s commanding armed vessels, and generally you wouldn't find comparable responsibility in a civilian organization. So we put a lot of pressure on them to grow up early and learn how to be leaders young. And it's from the day they join till the day they leave, they're undergoing leadership training at succeeding levels. I think employers should know that. It's not something that most employers put a lot of focus on.
You don't know how your employer feels about you unless you're talking to them about it. Unless you actually bring all the players involved into a room and speak to them and say, listen, I've got this problem. I'm having trouble balancing this and this. Is there any way I could merge these two worlds and have this work? And I'm sure they'd be receptive.
What do you have to do? Communicate with the employer, the human resources people, the union. Put your request in writing. Give your employer plenty of notice. Ensure that your work is kept current. Help train replacement personnel. Take the necessary steps to get union approval. If you're a student, ensure that exams or assignments have been rescheduled. Follow up and take the time to say thanks.
Also, if you have the opportunity to invite, through the Canadian Forces Liaison Council, invite your employer out to visit you during training on a weekend, for example, I think that would be very valuable.
The Executrek program invites civilian decision makers to come and see military training and exercises.
What I found today, what I'm really impressed upon is the training that the military give their people and the various backgrounds. With the Toronto Police Service, I can see communications, for example.
And I wasn't sure what sort of the commitment was as far as, gee, how often are they required to go on a monthly basis, and how long is the tour in the summer? So that's really what I came out to find out, is to find out, well, what is the commitment as far as the time is concerned, and what does it involve, and we'll go from there.
They can present themselves, they're willing to do the extra effort, they're always willing to make a difference, and obviously if they're going to dedicate themselves for their country, they're obviously going to dedicate themselves for their employers.
I have a reservist who does work for me, and he's just recently back from a year in Afghanistan. So actually that was an amazing experience for myself, because I didn't know much about reservists, and from him being away, I've learned a lot. And actually he nominated TD Canada Trust for an award.
My employer is IBM Canada, and they give me 10 days, or basically 2 weeks of military leave for training every year. And it's a great policy.
Very fortunate. My civilian employer actually has a military liaison council where reservists that work with the Toronto Police are members of this council and keep the deputy chief updated on what kinds of things we do.
When I was in school as a reservist, I was able to have some of my exams deferred for a couple of different times.
I've been very fortunate. I mean, I do the reserves full-time for 6 months, and then I stop that and I do football full-time for 6 months. And the arrangement we have between the two is whenever I'm required for Army stuff, the football lets me go, and whenever I'm required for football stuff, the Army lets me go. So they've been very receptive to the idea of it.
I sat down with my boss and he asked a lot of questions. What is this? Why are you doing it? And I basically said, well, I deal with computers here in my civilian job, and one of my secondary duties is in information security. These are the kinds of things that I'm going to be doing, and they consented. They agreed that it was in their advantage to let me go, and they let me go. And I've done this every year for a number of years, and my employer is very supportive.
What can I do? There is help available. You also have support from the Canadian Forces Liaison Council, a civilian organization comprised of representatives from business, industry, and education. They're backed up by a broad network of military liaison officers. They can help you establish and maintain a relationship with your employer, and they'll be right there with you with any conflicts you may have. They can help you write letters. They can make phone calls. Begin by talking to the CFLC Employer Support Representative at your reserve unit. Check them out at www.cflc.forces.gc.ca.
Do that for each set of planks, and then when you get to the end,